n8n has a secret. It is powerful. I've shared that with you already, but it is powerful because of this little secret. Hey there, it is I versus AI, and this is n8n. This is an automation that I built to solve a problem that I had, in that I don't have enough time in the day to watch all of the YouTube videos I'd like to. I wanted to be able to get from a playlist a video or videos, extract their transcript, have an AI summarize them, create a nice, neatly formatted markdown note, which would then be sent to my Dropbox and show up in my Obsidian vault. So what is the secret that makes n8n so powerful? I'm going to select all of these nodes by hitting Control or Command on a Mac, hitting the A key to select all, and then I'm going to hit Control or Command and hit the X key for cut. And where do you think all of that workflow just went? Let's head over to ChatGPT or the large language model of your choice. Click in the input area, hold down Control or Command on a Mac, and hit V for paste. And what do you see here? This is a JSON object. This is the power of n8n. This is the entirety of the workflow. This, for example, create links, is the exact same node as this, create links. This is the user interface for us humans, and this is for computers. Let's head back over to that very helpful YouTube transcript automation. Because at this step of our journey, we're going to learn how an automation actually works behind the scenes. We've seen that it's a JSON object, but how does the data actually move through it? And what's JSON or JSON expression? And how do I write one? This is where many of us AI enthusiasts might want to nope out here. But trust me, it's easy. At least it's easy once you understand how it works. Let's start with the very first node in the workflow. And a little analogy about trains. Let's think about each of these nodes as a train station. In this case, a trigger node that runs every minute. Every minute, it will initiate the workflow. Think of each station as having a conductor, and the conductor has a job to do at that station. In this case, the conductor's job is to press a button, which starts the train running. And he does so every minute, which then moves the train to the next station. The train consists of just two cars, the engine car and the baggage car. And inside the baggage car is the data that moves through our workflow. The conductor at the Get Playlist Videos station comes out and takes a look at his clipboard, which is represented by the middle area of the user interface. This shows the journey thus far, and this shows the output of what happened when the conductor followed his instructions on his clipboard. At this station, the conductor checked a playlist to get anything that was in that playlist, and the playlist name was transcripts. But let's say we want more information about that particular video that we can use to add to our nice, neatly formatted summary. And for that, we're going to need the Get Video Details station. The train pulls up, the conductor comes out to the platform, looks at his clipboard, and sees that we're going to need a particularly special operation here. This is the HTTP Request node. And what the HTTP Request node does is allow your workflow to head out to the wider world to gather information. This is where APIs come in. You can see here that we're connecting to an API that's actually being hosted at Rapid API. And that API allows us to get more information by making a request to give us more information about this specific video. API calls are really quick. I'm going to test this step to show you that. And that is all that it takes. Think about this as the conductor who has a carrier pigeon. The carrier pigeon can fly at the speed of light. The carrier pigeon leaves the station and heads out into the wider world, which is made of apartment blocks. These apartment blocks are servers. And inside each of those servers are apartments, and those apartments represent databases. This is basically how the internet works. It's all just prettified by a nice user interface that hides all of these carrier pigeons flying out, gathering information using a GET request, or perhaps carrying information to put in to the database, or perhaps updating a section of the database, or even deleting something from that database. Now, I told you that the data that moves through n8n's workflows is a JSON object. And I also mentioned something about JSON expressions. When an output runs, in other words, the conductor does his job and an output occurs here before the train goes on to the next station, you can see the output in actually four handy ways. This is the table view. I'm going to jump over the JSON view for a minute to head to the schema view. The schema view is very helpful if you want to be able to minimize data, and I tend to use the schema view a lot because of these helpful icons that help me find areas that I'm looking for quickly. The final view for those hardcore programmer types is the JSON view, which is actually a view I've come to enjoy since I've learned that I can minimize the view using the brackets. The other benefit of the JSON view is that you can copy it and give it to a large language model. I mentioned one more hidden view. It's the edit output view, which will allow you to edit the output. I'm going to take us back to the schema view because it allows us to get a look at the next step in our journey, and that is understanding JSON expressions. I am very happy to teach you about this because I was personally stuck on JSON expressions for a long time, and I now understand how to read them, and I'm going to teach you how to read a JSON expression with the analogy of the train station and the conductor and his clipboard. The train station conductor comes out and he needs to get information from a previous point in the train's journey. Let's take a look here in the value. We want to find the ID. In other words, what video do you want more information on? And to find that, we need to go back in time and see what station we picked up that information. So let's break it down by minimizing this entire section. And we can see that we have been from our starting station through the Get Playlist Video station, and now the train is sitting in the Get Video Details station. The conductor looks at his clipboard. He says, I need a video ID. Let me find it. He goes and looks at what came into the baggage car from the Get Playlist Videos station. There's a lot in the baggage car marked as having come on at that station. We need to find a specific box. This item.json is the way to see a box in which our items reside. An item refers to a specific item that is a JSON object. That's all it means. But we need to know which box. The conductor looks over in the baggage car and sees 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes. And from there, he needs to understand which of those boxes he needs to look for. Looking at his clipboard, he sees that he needs a box called snippet. And there it is. Inside that box is a separate box that is called Resource ID. Let's look for it. And there it is. And inside that box is the item that we are looking for. That item is called video ID. We open up our resource ID box, and there is video ID. Every JSON expression that pulls information from a previous train station is organized in the same way. Now, what I do as a flowgrammer is I always identify the exact station that the information is coming from. But you might get confused because when you drag over information and drop it here, I need the ID for that video, you will see this. And you might get confused because this is shorthand. $JSON simply means at the previous train station. That's all it means. It simply means at the last train station. Look for a box called snippet. Inside that box is a box called resource ID, and inside of that box is the item we are looking for. That is a JSON expression. One more note here about this user interface. At the time that this workflow ran and checked the playlist, there was just one video. Had there been more than one video, these arrows would be active and allow you to move through and see the changing of each video ID. A note on the numbering. For reasons, I don't know why, developers decided to number items starting from 0. So in this case, in the JSON object, when you start a list, it is always referred to the first item as item 0, the second item 1, and so on. Watching data move node to node, a train move station to station through a workflow that you designed, you built, you created to solve a problem that you have, let me tell you, it's addicting, it's powerful, and the limit is really your imagination. Oh, that's why we're going to build our own automation from scratch. The whole thing, step by step, and it solves a problem that most of us have. We're going to do that in the next stage of our journey. And that video that takes you there, that video is on screen right now.